Good evening. On behalf of Major General Trevor Bradenkamp, the presiding officer for today's event, we welcome you to the retirement ceremony for Major Eddie Garcia. We would also like to recognize Eddie's special guests for today, his wife, Veronica, his daughters, Angelina and Aaliyah, and his father and stepmother who traveled from Texas to be here, Mr. and Mrs. Edward Garcia Sr. Thank you for joining us on this special occasion as we honor Eddie and his family's service. Please rise for the singing of the national anthem and reciting of the Pledge of Allegiance, performed by Angelina and Aaliyah Garcia, and remain standing for the invocation given by Father Christopher Pollard, the pastor of St. John the Beloved Catholic Church in McLean, Virginia.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land and of the free, and the home of the brave?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, 235 years ago tomorrow, with the assistance of your Holy Spirit, the Constitution of the United States of America was signed after much public debate. Words are few that populate that very important document, because those were men who knew that words had to be followed by actions. And so today, as we gather to honor the military career of Major Garcia, we praise and thank you for making all of us in your image and likeness, and for enabling a few of us to serve you with great honor, and to be faithful servants, stewards of the great gifts you've given to us. And in a city that's filled with monuments, we honor your great majesty in seeing the most important monument of all society, which is a beautiful, healthy, holy family. And so we thank you for Eddie's being supported by his parents, by Veronica, Angelina, Aaliyah. And we ask you to continue to bless and support Mr. Garcia as he continues to do great things. We ask this in the name of Christ our Lord. Amen. Amen.
Major Garcia has enjoyed a truly remarkable career. Over the course of 22 years, he served in some of the Army's most distinguished units, including the 82nd Airborne Division and 10th Special Forces Group, deployed on multiple combat and peacekeeping missions, became a Ranger and Jump Master, and even drafted legislation into the fiscal year 2020 National Defense Authorization Act. Again, we congratulate Eddie on a truly remarkable career and celebrate his achievements this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, the presiding officer for today's ceremony and Chief Legislative Liaison, Major General Trevor Bradenkamp.
Please take your seats. Father, that was, you know, we talked briefly before the ceremony, and you were thinking about what to say, and I think reflecting on the Constitution and its inception is very fitting as we recognize and celebrate an officer who swore an oath to support and defend that very same document. So thanks for those powerful words. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is really an honor for me to be here today on this auspicious occasion as we take time to reflect on Eddie's career and what he's done on behalf of our nation. It's a beautiful Friday, and there's probably no more fitting place to do this than in our nation's capital. I'd like to take a moment to recognize the family and some folks that are here today, and all those who took the time to travel here from a very far distance to be here on this special day for Eddie and his family. First, Veronica, Eddie's wife of 15 years. Today is as much about your commitment to service and sacrifice and family as it is about Eddie's career of service and joining the Army. Being an Army spouse myself, because my wife's active duty, I know that the Army service is a family venture, and I want to thank you for all that you've done to support Eddie, to raise a family, and to support our nation. So thank you very much. Angelina, you killed that national anthem. You have a beautiful voice, which I'm sure you got from your mom and not your dad. And you were very measured, and the tempo was perfect, and you should be very proud of yourself. I know your parents are, so well done. Aaliyah, great job on the national anthem. Sorry, great job on the Pledge of Allegiance. You did a wonderful job, and as I listen to your voice and the voice of everybody else in this chamber here today, it just reaffirmed, why we serve and the importance of, our allegiance to the symbol of our nation. So very well done. Thank you. I know that you both and Veronica motivate your dad to do what he has done over the past 22 years. And the reality is that he volunteered to join the Army, and neither of you had a choice. Right? You kind of came into it because he was in it, and you served just as your father served, and your support to both your mom and dad is awe-inspiring. So thank you very much. I would like to extend a special welcome to Eddie's father and stepmother, Edward Garcia Sr., and Sherry Garcia, who traveled from Goliad, Texas.
Yes.
It's my understanding that this is your first trip to D.C.
Yes.
And I know they're going to stay here, so you'll make many trips back. And so Eddie, the expectation is high, so every time they come back, they're going to want to have a reception here in the Pentagon, and they're going to want to see all the sights, and they're going to want to, participate in a great reception like you're going to have. I have no doubt in all the things you're going to do this weekend. So thank you so much for the foundation that you set, the values that you instilled in Eddie growing up, that made him want to serve our great nation. And to continue to serve and to retire here today. So thank you so much. And to really everybody else who came here today, I see, while I don't know many of you personally, I know that it really does take a village in service, especially given Eddie's path over the last 22 years. And so I know that for each one of you, there's likely a story that Eddie can reflect on and Veronica can reflect on, about how you contributed to his ability to serve, our great nation. So thanks, everybody, for being here today. So Eddie, what an amazing career. 22 years. I mean, you reflect back on that, and it seems like it's a long time when you say 22 years, but it's really like the blink of an eye when you think about all those things that have happened and all the people that have impacted your life. But you're really, truly a shining example of one of our nation's sons and daughters, right? Who volunteered to serve our nation. And for those of you who don't really know Eddie's Army career, I'd like to take a few brief moments to highlight. So Eddie, began his career enlisted in the reserves in 1999. But like so many others, what inspired him to come into active duty was the events of 9/11. I came in the Army many years before that, and what has always impressed me about Eddie and so many of the cohort with whom he served is the fact that they chose to serve in a period of conflict. Right? They knew that what they were getting into when they rose their right hand to support and defend the Constitution. And so thanks, Eddie, for making that choice and being inspired and for what you've done. So following marriage to Veronica, Eddie got the option to go into officer candidate school and be commissioned as a signal officer in the United States Army. And then I think that's probably when Veronica realized that this is really a family business and not just, Eddie kind of going off 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks out of the year to be an active component service member. So they met in Stuttgart, Germany, following his assignment to SOCUR. And then after OCS, Eddie kind of embarked upon a long-term in the center of the universe at Fort Bragg, like we like to refer to it, being assigned to the 82nd Airborne Division and working with Special Operations Forces. And that was actually Veronica's first time moving to the U.S. And so she, for those of you who have experience in Fayetteville, 20 years ago, it's come a long way in 20 years, 30 years when I got there, but it's a very unique experience for family members. And then it was at that time that Eddie deployed. He took his first deployment to Iraq for 10 months. So really, I'd like to focus a little bit on Veronica. So, going through multiple deployments and having been on the home side of when my spouse was deployed, I know what a challenge it is to raise a family, to know that your significant other is in harm's way, and to pray every day that they return home to you. And so it's your strength of character that helped motivate Eddie early on, and then your strength of character to raise two wonderful daughters and allow Eddie to continue to serve and deploy and contribute to the defense of our nation. So thank you very much. And then as Eddie capped off his final deployment in 2015, that was actually where Veronica rose her right hand and became a citizen of the United States of America. So thank you very much for that. Well, we all know how tough Eddie thinks he is. In fact, I think he was the champion, the European boxing champion in both 2007 and 2008. And I would definitely not want to be on the wrong side of Eddie in a dark alley. So hopefully we can still be on the same side if we ever get in that situation. But I must say that seeing Veronica move to the U.S. For the first time and then raise a family during a deployment, she's really the more resilient and tougher of the two. So thank you all for your service and for your support for Eddie. As I mentioned, Eddie deployed overseas multiple times while serving the majority of career in special operations assignments. In fact, as an officer, if he wasn't in a Special Forces assignment, he was at the 82nd Airborne Division. Eddie definitely knew how to pick the easy assignments because they kept busy. Prior to coming to Congressional Fellowship Program, Eddie worked directly for General Votel. And I'm sure many of you know General Votel, I've known him for many years as well. He's a wonderful human being, but he's a very driven leader, and Eddie served as his communication chief during one of those deployments. Again, pretty easy assignment for you. As everyone knows, Eddie came to the Congressional Fellowship Program in 2018 and really has made an incredible impact, not only on the officers with whom he served, but many personal office staff, professional staff, and members of Congress. But his career is not remarkable when you think about his family history. His great-grandfather served in World War I as a private in the infantry, and his grandfathers both served in the Army in World War II. It's not surprising that Eddie sought a career in the Army and really excelled as a leader. I would like to highlight, if you didn't know it, Eddie was selected as a MacArthur Leadership Award recipient in 2016. And about that program, so there's about 60,000 company-grade officers that are considered for that award each year, and there's only 28 that are selected. So that just further underscores Eddie's exceptional leadership abilities and his interpersonal skills and ability to influence those around him. So thanks, Eddie, for your leadership. So it's been more than 22 years since you enlisted in the Army, and today you're retiring. We're grateful for your service to our soldiers and our families and our nation. We look forward to all the great things and you and your amazing family is going to do in the years that lie ahead. And I know you're excited to transition to the next chapter, and just catching up with you for a few minutes. All the great things you're going to do, not only for your family, but also for so many other veterans that have served. It's great that you have such an incredible relationship with the church, and I know that is one thing in the future that you're going to continue to work with youth minorities and work with the church, and again, work with many of our veterans. While Eddie's career might be over, he will continue to serve the community for years to come. As a soldier for life, we know that you're going to continue to tell the Army story and to serve our great nation. In fact, Eddie's already discussing ideas for helping those vulnerable populations who are most affected by rising inflation. So Eddie, thanks for what you've done in the Army, and thanks for what you're getting ready to do. It's truly amazing. Eddie, on behalf of all those with whom you've served, I want to personally thank you for what you've done for our Army, our soldiers and families, and the nation. I'm honored that you'd asked me to be a part of this today. It's truly amazing to reflect on your lifetime of service to our nation, and I know that you'll continue to do great things as you transition. So at this point in time, I'll stop talking and we can formally recognize Eddie for his incredible service.
Major Garcia will now join Major General Bradenkamp up front. Please remain seated for the reading of the retirement orders and the presentation of awards, and please hold your applause until all awards have been presented. Certificate of Retirement. This is to certify that Major Edward C. Garcia, Jr., having served faithfully and honorably, is retired from the United States Army on the 31st day of August, 2022.
So you're working on OPIC right now.
Absolutely.
All right, it's official.
Yeah. I had to get a uniform for no pay.
All right.
Major Garcia is now being presented the Meritorious Service Medal for his exemplary service from October 1999 to 1 September 2022. It reads, for over 22 years of exceptionally meritorious service to the United States Army, culminating as a legislative liaison in the United States House of Representatives Liaison Division. Major Garcia's professionalism and high standards of duty in every assignment, coupled with his leadership, initiative, and outstanding performance, contributed immeasurably to the Army's enduring success, bringing great credit upon himself, the office of the Chief Legislative Liaison, and the United States Army. Signed, Trevor Bradenkamp, Major General, United States Army.
This is really a very small token of appreciation for a job very well done. So.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
You never know where to look for all these because there's so many.
Next, Major Garcia is being presented a certificate of appreciation from the President of the United States of America, which reads, I extend to you my personal thanks and the sincere appreciation of a grateful nation for your contribution of honorable service to our country. You have helped maintain the security of the nation during a critical time in its history with a devotion to duty and a spirit of sacrifice in keeping with the proud traditions of military service. Your commitment and dedication have been an inspiration for those who will follow in your footsteps and for all Americans who join me today in saluting you for a job extremely well done. My best wishes to you for happiness and success in the future. Signed, Joseph R. Biden, Jr., Commander-in-Chief. Major General Bradenkamp will now present Major Garcia an encased flag of the United States of America. At this time, Major General Bradenkamp is presenting the Mississippi Magnolia Cross, an extension of remarks from the Congressional Record, on behalf of Congressman Trent Kelly, recognizing Eddie's contributions as the Congressman's Defense Fellow. The award reads, "For meritorious achievement while serving as the Defense Legislative Fellow for Mississippi's 1st Congressional District from 6 January 2019 to 31 December 2019. Your devotion to duty, commitment to excellence, and leadership improve the lives of Mississippians and will leave a legacy for future generations. Your exceptional service reflects great credit upon yourself and the Mississippi Army National Guard." Signed, Tate Reeves, Governor of Mississippi.
I know that he really wanted to be here, and that he's, his kids running in cross country and everything. But I know that he's really proud to have worked with you. I'm very proud of your service. So.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, well done.
Mrs. Garcia, please join your husband in the center of the room. A certificate of appreciation is now being presented to Mrs. Veronica Garcia from the Chief of Staff of the Army, General James McConville, thanking her for her unfailing support and understanding, which helped to make her spouse's lasting contributions to the nation. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give them a round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to introduce Major Edward Garcia, United States Army, retired.
Thank you. Whew. Thank you very much. I first and foremost want to thank Congressman Kelly, who couldn't be here. He had family issues going on back in Mississippi. Quite literally, without him, we wouldn't be here today. So his leadership in the office and then mentorship outside of work has been outstanding to me and my family for the past 4 years. Brigadier General Bradenkamp, Colonel Zampelli, I want to thank you guys for being here. You have a ton of other things going on right now, but to take time out of your day and your schedule to come be with us here and to support Veronica and me, I really appreciate it so much. I also, she's not here right now, but I'd like to say thank you to Jody Mitchell, who was the deputy here in HLD for a while. She had longevity and helped me understand the way that this place works. And for those of you who don't know, it can be pretty complicated. So she was a great asset, and her insight was invaluable. Father Chris Pollard, thank you so much for being here. You, I know, have a ton of things going on right now. For those of you who don't know or are living nearby, St. John the Beloved in McLean, Virginia, has a fall festival tomorrow that he should be preparing for. And there's a whole crew of people that are barbecuing and getting things ready for tomorrow. So if you can make it, it would be most appreciative. There's going to be a lot of stuff for your family and friends there too. But the point is, he took his time out of all of that to come here and to support, members of his congregation. Veronica and I, sir, you've been a blessing to us for years now. And I couldn't thank you enough. Thank you for being here. On a side note, there's a few priests in here too, besides Father Pollard. I see Father Peter over there, so everybody should be blessed before they leave. I promise you, it'll do you good. I'll get into this in a little bit, but one of the major reasons my family and I are staying here, quite honestly, is the Catholic community. There's plenty of you in here today, both the clergy and lay people that take up space in those pews. Y'all are a family to us. And so Veronica and I really, that's what's keeping us here more than anything. To my fellows that FY 19 or 20, I don't remember. For being here. The cohort's been great. Kelly, Cheryl, Carl, Johannes, man, y'all have been great. I've learned. Am I missing somebody? Oh, Tom. Tom's in the back, the lawyer. Yeah, thank you guys for showing up, for being here, supporting me. I've learned a ton from all of you. You were all much smarter and much more talented than I was, so I got a chance to learn a lot from you. So family and friends, or in this case, I would say family, right? Because if you're in this room today, that's what I consider you. That's what Veronica considers you. We consider you family. And pretty much everyone in this room has had a positive effect on us. If you think that's insignificant or you think that that's not true, I would tell you that it is. I mean, if I had the time, I could go up and down these aisles and... Allison, nice to see you. A Navy fellow, yeah. I could go up and down these aisles and tell you the impact that you've had in some shape, form, or fashion on either my life or our family's life. So if you're here, just consider yourself family. And speaking of family, how about that national anthem? I mean... She definitely nailed it, right? 14 years old. I mean, what 14-year-old do you know gets the chance to perform in front of a crowd this size in the House of Representatives at an official retirement ceremony for her father, of all things? So she stepped up to it and she knocked it out of the park, right? And that Pledge of Allegiance, 10 years old, same deal. Fearless. And she didn't practice. And she didn't practice at all. Still nailed it. I'm so proud. Anyone who's known me over the last 5 years or so would tell you that when I do something, I try to make a concerted effort to involve my wife and my children. And that's because for many years I couldn't include them. In the last 20 years in the Army, I've actually only been promoted once on American soil. And that was in the room next to us 3 years ago. Also, thank you to Congressman Kelly and his staff. I see Reed Craddock back there. Thank you, Reed, for making all this happen. And so now that I'm blessed with the opportunity to involve my family to do some pretty cool stuff, and I think this is pretty cool stuff, where people can be involved, I want them to be involved. And so make no mistake, that's why we're here. As we started this transition process and whether we were going to retire or not, Veronica and I sat down and she asked me, she was like, so what are we going to do for your retirement? What kind of ceremony are we going to have for your retirement? And, I've been in for a long time and I've got a lot of things going on. And so I was leaning towards, like most of the guys that will relate here, like, I just want to get out and go, right? Get my certificates. I don't need anything. Let's just get on with our lives. We got a lot of things to do. And as I was talking, though, she pointed her finger up like this. And the more that I talked, the closer that finger got to my face. And by the time I got finished, it was touching my lips and she just said, stop. Okay, stop. your retirement is not just about you. She said, it's about me, it's about your daughters, it's about your family, it's about your parents, your friends, everybody who chipped in while you were deployed and I was sick or at work or couldn't take care of the kids or the kids were sick, all the play dates, all the interactions with the community that come to support us while we were struggling like everybody else was struggling and you were somewhere off, doing whatever the Army told you to do. And so this day is not about just you. If you have the opportunity to do something for everyone else that they can participate in that maybe they won't be able to participate in the future, then you're going to do that. And so that's how we ended up here. Quite Yeah. So I also want to thank my father and my stepmother for being here today. It's not easy being from Goliad, Texas, to get away. I mean, they have to work, they have lives of their own, and it's a long way. And plus, he won't admit it, so I'll tell all of you from up here that he's deathly afraid of flying. And then, ironically, chose September 11th to make the flight. But he persevered and he got here. Matter of fact, this is also the first time he's ever seen me in uniform. And technically, I'm not even in anymore. Right? So I technically retired 16 days ago. I also want to thank my mother and stepfather, Rebecca and Roy Martinez, who couldn't be here today. They're back at home. They have supported Veronica and the girls and me for years and years and years. They've never once not come to our aid when we needed to. When Veronica was stuck at the Charleston Air Force Base trying to catch a Space A flight to Germany while I was deployed in Iraq and didn't know that you couldn't just jump on one of those flights, and 2 days in an airport terminal and with a small child not knowing what to do, first time in America, my mother came to the rescue over the phone and kind of walked her to a hotel room and got her situated. They've always been there to take care of the kids when they've come into town. They've seen me at my worst, and at my worst I mean my Ranger School graduation. 155 pounds, scarred up, cuts on my hands and face, bruises, hungry, sloppy, sleepy, but they were there. My stepfather Roy pinned my airborne wings on me when I graduated Ranger School at Fort Benning. So they've always been there. I want to give them a special thank you for all these years. As I was preparing for this day, the ceremony, it actually had the feeling of a funeral. And maybe it was because we recently, sadly, had to plan my grandmother's funeral. And so we were planning that ceremony while we were thinking about this ceremony, and they kind of ran together in my mind. And so I look at this ceremony like a funeral, right? It's the transition point in time where we experience the death of one life, yet we bask in the hope of the life to come. And as all funerals goes, it's right to pay homage and respect on the life that was lived. And to do that, I always have to start with Veronica, my beautiful, lovely wife of 17 years. We've been married 15. We've been together 17. And don't be fooled. She didn't marry me for the money. Okay? She wasn't wowed by some hotshot Army officer when we first met. She fell in love with a pretty wild and pretty crazy specialist, E4, who was knocking people out in the boxing ring, but had a tendency to knock them out in the streets and in the nightclubs too. So it wasn't easy. And make no mistake about it, she's the primary reason I have achieved any success in my Army career. People who know me today seem to see someone who's self-motivated, someone who takes on more tasks than he can probably handle, someone who tries to do too much all at once and for too many people. And that's been part of my personality for a few years. And honestly, I kind of relish in that just a bit of. It's why it can be emotionally exhausting for some of you. I'm looking at, Pat Piccolo. I know I can be emotionally exhausting on you from time to time as we talk about deep things. It's been part of my personality for quite some time. Don't think that I don't know that. And honestly, I kind of relish in it. But that wasn't always the case. It's only the case now because I've had a strong, faithful, beautiful woman with me for the last 17 years who has constantly demanded that I graduate from being a boy and pushed me into being a man. She encourages me, she motivates me, and most importantly, she prays for me to be a father, a husband, a leader of our family, a provider and a leader in the community, which led me to being a leader in the Army. It's why I became an officer. It's through her motivation. She demanded that I be the man that God destined me to be and the man that she believed that I could be, even when I didn't see it in myself. So without her, we most certainly would not be here today. I wouldn't be the man that I am today, physically, emotionally, psychologically, or spiritually. Maybe you've simply been the best, and I love you. I also want to thank my beautiful girls, Angelina and Aaliyah, who have celebrated birthdays, Christmases, Thanksgivings, first days of schools, father-daughter activities, all without their father being there. And in all of those years, in all of those times, and all those missed occasions, never did they once ever complain to me, or whine to me, or cry to me, or make me feel like I was neglecting them, even though that's exactly how I felt. I want to thank the leaders and the people that I've been blessed to serve with over all these years. Your words and most importantly, your actions have always inspired me to do more. I could easily thank great leaders that I've been lucky enough, blessed enough, we don't believe in luck, blessed enough to be associated with: General Joe Votel, Lieutenant General Fran Beaudet, Major General Greg Anderson, Colonel Sean Berg, all who have been what I would consider the epitome of Army leadership that set such a great example for me to follow. One person in particular I want to thank here today, I want to recognize here today. His name is Sergeant First Class Theodore Garcia. Garcia, mind you, no relation. Sergeant Garcia was my motor sergeant. And for those of you who are not in the Army, a motor sergeant is a mechanic who's essentially in charge of all the lower ranking mechanics, because that's what I was at the time. He was my motor sergeant when I was a private to PFC in the 288th Quartermaster Company in Victoria, Texas in 99, 2000, and 2001. After 2001, as General Breenkamp said, I made the decision to join the active duty because I felt like I wasn't doing enough in the reserves, and that's the nation, the mood of the nation at the time. And so upon hearing that, Sergeant Garcia pulled me into a motor pool. And again, for those of you who aren't in the Army, a motor pool is an Army term for a big garage. And so he pulled me into the motor pool with all of my peers, all of my comrades, people that are E4s, E5s. And he told me in front of all of them that I would never make it in the active Army. He said that I was undisciplined. He said I was too much of a hothead. He said I didn't listen to anyone and I couldn't follow instructions. He said the chip on my shoulder was so big that I would either quit or I'd be thrown out. I don't know where he is today, but may God rain blessings down upon him, because his words changed my life. He was 100% in his characterizations about me. I was all those things, and honestly, I'm still all those things. But by the grace of God, I was able to be mentored by men who would show me by example how to use that anger that I felt in a positive way at the gym, during PT, how to use this energy and passion to lead troops, to get up early, to stay up late, to jump out of airplanes, to go on ruck marches during holidays and Christmas evenings. And Veronica could tell you because she used to walk with me. How to use my own sense of inadequacy or self-doubt to motivate me to go to college for 3 hours a night, every weeknight for 10 years to get a 4-year degree. to use that giant chip on my shoulder and put a Ranger tab on it, to earn awards or boxing tournaments, to earn 2 master's degrees, to compete and fight for every single position and every job that has landed us all here today in the halls of Congress. So may God bless that man. I could be here all day running through a list of great men and great leaders who have impacted my career, my life for the better. 14 years in the special operations community. I've had examples like Dan Stewart, who's here, who I'm seeing back there at the top, who was one of my first team sergeants when I was active in Germany. People like Evil Jerry Furness, who's back there as well, where we were gallivanting the continent of Africa before it was cool to be in Africa. All right? I was in E4, he was in E7, and we were doing things I can't mention here in this room today. Men like John Forsythe, who was here. As soon as I find him, he's in the back. Okay? Men like John Forsythe, who I consider my military father because of the impact he had on my career, is one like a father who guides his son from childhood to manhood. He showed me that being a signal officer didn't have to be a desk job, that you could still lead from the front, that you could still show up early, that you could still demand excellence from your people. This at a time where it wasn't cool to be IT. Most of them were, kind of nerdy. But if you saw John Forsythe 15 years ago, the last thing you would think about is someone who's nerdy. He works out like a madman in the gym, up before everyone else and staying late. You would show up at every no notice, every exercise, and demand excellence. And if you could be valuable, he didn't care what your rank was. You were part of the team. And if you couldn't, you weren't. And it was pretty simple. And so he took me from where I was and showed me what I could be. And that's what you've done for me, sir. Thank you very much. Friends, I've spent 22 years and I've been blessed with amazing experiences. I've worked and I've helped pass laws right here in the halls of Congress. I've flown over the snow-covered mountains of Afghanistan in the wintertime. I've walked the squelching heat of the Sahara Desert in the summertime. I've jump mastered mass TAC full combat airborne operations at 02 on Sicily drop zone with a night sky full of paratroopers from the 82nd Airborne Division. I've jumped out of helicopters, Hollywood style, over the German countryside. I've had a private mass in the Vatican. I've been to Athens, Greece, the birthplace of democracy, to the Parthenon near the Areopagus, where St. Paul gave his famous speech in Acts 17. A speech, by the way, that motivates me today. I've been to Babylon, the cradle of civilization. I've traveled between the Tigris and the Euphrates. I've been to the pyramids of Egypt and the jungles of Africa. I've prayed in the Garden of Gethsemane. And I've walked the passion of our Lord through the streets of Jerusalem. These experiences and so many more will be forever etched in my heart. But friends, I look at funerals not only in sadness but in remembrance of the life past, but I look at them with great expectation of a new, more glorious life to come. So rather than be sad today or cry, as Tim Parrish said that I would, yeah, he's crying, yeah. So rather than be sad today, I rejoice today. And I want you to rejoice with me. I rejoice in the anticipation of the life yet to come. I rejoice in the promise that God has waiting for me and my family. I rejoice in the new challenges that await my family and I. I rejoice because I know that this is not the end of our service to our great and wonderful nation, but merely a new beginning. A beginning of a new era of service in my life, in the life of my family. I rejoice in the future service outside the confines of the military. One where I'm completely free as a citizen of this great nation to speak out on the issues that matter the most. You know, the most frequent question that I receive up here when I tell people that I'm retiring from the military is usually, so where are you going? Texas or Florida? And I usually get a weird look when I say, no, I'm staying near the Capitol. I'm staying here in Virginia. We're not going anywhere. And people want to know why. And so I usually tell them a story that I want to share with you guys today. So in the early Christian church, there's a writing, it's not canon, but it's a writing called the Acts of Peter, and meaning Peter the Apostle, the one Jesus named the Rock, the one Jesus gives the keys to the kingdom of heaven. And in the Acts of Peter, it's written that as Peter was fleeing the city of Rome at a time of great persecution, he was trying to escape along the Appian Way. And the Appian Way is a road which leads out of Rome. And on the Appian Way, outside the city, Peter looks up and he encounters Jesus. He looks up, he sees our risen Lord, and he's carrying his cross. And he's walking back the other direction. And so Jesus is walking in the direction that Peter just came from. And when Peter looks up and sees this, he says, Domine, which means Lord, quo vadis, where are you going? And Jesus tells him, I'm going to Rome to be crucified again. It's in this moment, friends, that that Peter realizes that escaping Rome is abandoning his community. By fleeing whatever persecution awaits, he's abandoning those in need. He's already denied Christ 3 times, and now he's abandoning his responsibilities yet again. So Peter makes the decision to turn around. He makes the decision to march back to the capital of the known world, back to the most powerful city on the planet, back to a place that is rife with corruption, a place that is actively persecuting Christians, labeling them, targeting them, and trying to exterminate them in all they believe. And there, Peter returns. He stands for righteousness. He speaks truth to the powerful, even if it costs him his life. And it eventually does. He's eventually crucified upside down. But his impact and his actions live on to this very day. I say all of that to say that Washington, D.C. is the capital of the known world. It's the most powerful city on the planet. And the Garcia family has absolutely zero desire to flee or escape from it, regardless of what awaits. So rest assured, the Garcia family is not retreating from the battlefield to protect our nations. We're not withdrawing to the cozy confines of suburbia, and we're not seeking a wealthy payoff for all our years of military service. We're entering the battlefield of ideas in a fight for the future of our nation, armed with the Word of God and the love and support of you guys, the local community, who stand for truth and who seek to make this nation better. You see, we're a family of believers. And that's a bit idealistic, but it's true. We actually believe in a better tomorrow. We actually believe in the power of God, working through us to seek out good works and righteous works, not only for our own glorification, but for the love and the betterment of our neighbors. We will fight for the generations to come just as our ancestors did. General Breedenkamp mentioned my military history in the family. I stand here today because I'm the grandson of Ramon Garcia, who enlisted and fought in the United States Army in World War II. I stand here today because I'm the great-grandson of Andres Garcia, who also enlisted and fought for the United States Army in World War I. We gather here today not because simply of what I've done, but because what they have done. We believe in the greatness of our nation. And I speak for my entire family when I say we will continue to serve it and defend it until our dying breath. So friends, thank you for being here with Veronica and the girls and I here today to lay our military career to rest, but also thank you for being here to witness the birth of a new life, a life that I am super excited about, a life that I am hopeful for, one of service, one of community, and one of faith, one where we will fight just as hard for the underserved, the overlooked, and the most vulnerable among us. We will always have fond memories of the past, but we will not look backwards because the future is too important. I hope and I pray that all of you who have stood and supported Veronica and me in the past will continue to stand and support us in the future. Thank you again for being here, and God bless you all.
I speak for everyone when I say that was an amazing speech and just a testament to your amazing 22-year career, Eddie. And thank God I don't have to follow that up with a speech of my own. So 'cause that's the toughest act to follow. But so anyways, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the retirement ceremony. Please join us for a small celebration in the back and congratulate Major Garcia and his family. Thank you for your support on this special day. One last round of applause.